All right, let's jump into it. Again, gonna make this one a bit of a quicker one, and that's a little bit under the weather still. But start off with DXY, because whoa, what a what a I'm trying to think of the right words for it. Shit show. I was caught on the wrong side of it, so I might be a little bit biased on my outlook of it all. But I mean, look, this thing has just been unstoppable. This is a more cleaned up chart that I have just been putting together in that, and we can see that yesterday sort of like broke that wedge, came down, retested, lower lows, all this kind of thing, perfectly set up. So set up for people like me, I guess, that drags people into these positions, but if you look at it and stand back now and like really at the stage, this was the high just through here. Oh yeah, could even call this one and just took out the highs. It was a perfect setup for it to come back down over here because this was your previous high, clipped out the top and then lower lows bang down. This perfect setup for I guess a bear trap, which it seemed to have done. And really, I think it caught a lot of the market off guard because we saw metals fly up, we saw Aussie give it a bit of an attempt up and that, and then everything just got absolutely crushed afterwards. But as you can see, as this was the high through here, still 23%, very bullish for the pullback here, and obviously. This little channel, it was sort of setting up down here, and you can see once this broke through, it just went bang and sort of shot straight up in there. So I'll flip back onto this other chart just for a second because we are coming right up into and sort of pretty much closing right in that resistance zone up over here. And of course, if we zoom out a little bit, we can see that this is taking us right back to those highs of April. So is this yearly highs? Yeah, it must be because here we go. Maybe we are finally going to close that gap. Here's for the gap theory people. Up over here, 663, that gap that never closed. So we're getting very close now, but look, we're up in this area. Market previously has sold it down multiple times from here. So it'd be interesting to sort of see what happens here. But this has just been, I mean, you can't see it so much of this because obviously I've got every little detail and note along the way. But if we take this off and just look at this thing, and it's just, it moves like this. It really, like, what I mean? As I said, I was caught on the other side of this one, but they're not sustainable realistically. I mean, these things are just, this is just stops, I would say. Trying to think of the right word for it. But look, it's really sort of just keeps it charging through. So question now is what happens when it gets above these ones over here? Are we going to see a bunch of stops up here? Are we going to see it close that gap? Is it just going to keep going? Is it going to take on 107? And what happens once it goes past 107? I mean, 1079 and that, and then up and up. Like, as I said, I've heard some pretty sort of bold claims of 110s, which is quite crazy. And to think that this whole move pretty much down here was pricing the idea that they were going to do a 50 base point cut. I've covered it a number of times, but this little wick down the bottom over here was the actual cut. So it goes to show how much of sort of the stuff sort of being priced in is what is actually sort of moving the market. Obviously, we started to move this way up over here. I wasn't really much of talk till we got around this sort of 103, 104 area that people started to go, oh, it's the Trump trade, it's the Trump trade, and that's when you started to hear people start to talk a couple of weeks out of the election. Um, and obviously, this thing has just been going bonkers since. Let's get back onto this cleaner one. Nice to sort of keep the old charts, but yeah, it does get a little bit confusing after a while to sort of try and work out what we can be doing. So I guess, look, we're closing up in that resistance area, as I just said a moment ago. You've got a nice little ascending triangle here. Oh, yeah, this one here. Your clear cut lines are obviously just a straight break and away we go. As I said, there's little gap above is probably an area where we might see a little bit of reaction. It's hard to think because I remember at the time started thinking, wow, there's a runaway gap, and I even noted it the other day because I had somebody asking me about gaps, and I was saying that sort of like in shares and all this kind of stuff, definitely that's when they close, and it'd be interesting to sort of see if that gap theory sort of covers across to DXY as diligently as well. I know it does on a daily basis. I've always sort of used that with the DXY. If the gap doesn't close straight away in the session, so say you gap up and then you just run up, generally you can use that later in the session. It'll come back down, close the gap, and then go on with its way. We've seen this a couple of times more recently, but only small gaps. Another gap that we have held though, that we haven't sort of closed, is this one here. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, or what happens as to sort of when this potentially may close. Obviously not looking like it right now, but as I said, look, this is the typical kind of stuff that DXY does. It looks like it's dying and then bang, jams back into life. So I'm still cautious to sort of, I mean, this isn't the time to get dollar bullish. The time to get dollar bullish was way back. So yeah, look, I'm just going to sort of see how this one plays out. Look, if this sort of fails through this area, look for the retest of these previous highs that we saw through yesterday's session. And then that's where you sort of tackle things on the downside. The fact that we're sort of still underneath this, I know this isn't your main trend, but it is one that we've been in pretty much, post election second push. I guess this was the election, this was the pullback, this is the channel we've been in since, and it's just been straight up, retest, retest, retest. We are on the underside of it. So I know I'm sort of sound like I'm sort of flogging a dead horse or whatever the cutesy saying is, but from a technical standpoint, that does look like it still is retesting the underside there, which does give it a little bit of a sort of, albeit sort of obviously still very bullish, a little bit of a bearish sort of look. And we are seeing 1, 2, 3 drives up over here as well. So does this link up at all? Not really, no. I mean, if somebody was trying to make a channel through that, they may have sort of also got trapped into this bit here. But regardless of that, we are sort of seeing that, it is really pushing up into some high time frame resistance points. So yeah, as I said, it's probably due for a little bit of an actual cool off because this thing has just been running like a monster. But I'm sure a lot of people said this a lot of times along the way. So I'll have to sort of see how this one sort of plays out. But yeah, you go above here, you've got a couple of gaps and targets up the top side there. All right, flip across. We got Aussie, got absolutely crushed. We are seeing this lower sort of support area kind of hold. So this thing absolutely ripped after that election, right back up into 66.90, and then obviously down and just back into its normal resumption of just getting smashed into. This has been such a wild swing area last couple of weeks through here. So potentially you could see upside moves coming back in to sort of replicate this side over here, up around sort of maybe into the mid 65s. We did have a bit of data out just then with employment, and they spam 20,000 predictions every month. Like it doesn't really matter what it was previously or what's going on. They just say, look, it's going to be 25,000 every single month, and they get it so drastically wrong every single time. This is the first time they've actually got close because it came in at 15,000, which obviously is slightly bearish for the Aussie dollar because, so you might as well flick across there. It is, update this one. It's slightly bearish for the Aussie dollar because obviously you want to see more jobs employed. We got last month sort of revised down 3,000 or so, but that's quite a significant drop off. But the main, not the main, no, they're both main numbers there, but another sort of big factor there is the fact that the unemployment rate is still at 4.1%. There's a bunch of things with the participation rate. I don't really sort of follow that as much, but with these two sort of headline numbers and that, they want to see this number moving up to say, okay, wow, unemployment's picking up. We need to do something about it. Without this moving up, it sort of gives you a bit of a mixed message with it also. Yes, this did come in significantly weaker, but so that's one for weak Aussie. But the fact that this still is unchanged, the employment rate is still unchanged, it's like, okay, well, it's just, less jobs added, but not so many people unemployed. Bit of a mixed bag with those two there. And as you can see, back onto Aussie, here we've got a bit of a sort of mixed reaction. Sold down briefly, boom, back up. As I said, Aussie really, it's only just at the mercy of what happens with US dollar. So if US dollar wants to run, it doesn't matter if we've got good data or not, we still will get smacked down by it. And only if sort of you get the double sort of thing, so US dollar moving in one direction with Aussie, so US dollar selling off with Aussie and strong data, then you'll get a bit more of a double kick, and we'll see these kind of stronger outperforming moves against some of the other currencies in the market. But at the moment, really, it's just so see what happens with DXY basically, and then we'll sort of go from there. Upside, obviously, yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot of levels to get through moving up over here. Main thing is just get back past that round number, I'd say, back up above that previous wick low at 65.10, and then sort of see what happens through there. But this is not really looking so flash hot for Aussie through here. And we are looking at some pretty deep drop-offs. If we go onto a higher time frame here, onto a daily. This is really sort of flirting with some danger down here because, as we can see, look, underneath here, there's not a lot to the left. This was that big drop down when, GFC 2.0, yada yada was happening. And this was the first day, it was a Monday. Yeah, as I say, Monday, 5th of August. That was the first day when I got back from Europe. Sort of woke up and I'm looking at Aussie and it's just falling, 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 falling. Look at the reaction we had though. But as you can see, quickly up, bang, down twice as fast. So as it is at the moment, a little bit of a negative divergence through this little area, a little bit of this sort of broadening sort of pattern. I'm not a big one of these broadening patterns, but should this happen to play out, as I said, back into that mid area of mid 65s, top side of this would actually be, into your 66s. But, that's at this stage getting a little bit ahead of yourself because, obviously sort of it's got a lot of work to do. Main thing is just to not just completely fall away and drip down to mid sort of 63s. Flip across, we've got copper. No, copper, so we've got silver. Silver. So retesting the lows again is still sort of pretty much into this sort of like little wedge pattern. I don't know if this is really the chart I was using. Charts have been stuffed around a little bit, yeah. So this was the little move that we were looking at yesterday, potential little head and shoulders. Did get the break in the retest. And as I said, if you move this out of the way, this did, and this is what I was saying last night, sort of with that data, it was a bit of odd data because they did have negative numbers. Negative USD numbers. So as in inflation up. So I guess positive number in that sense, but something that you would expect the US dollar to sort of strengthen on. But its immediate reaction was pretty much opposite, as you can see here. Things just shot up. Same with the Aussie. That sort of shot up, sort of, I think, 25 points or so. And then everything, as you can see, just got slammed afterwards. So back down, retesting, trying to hold these lows down here. See what happens. If it goes under this area, we've got a sort of bit more support in 29.90. So I feel like we're still sort of potentially getting to a little bit of a low. Very oversold. This on the 1 hour. What's the daily look like? Oversold on the daily. 4 hour is not looking as flash hot. But as you can see, this is your little support area through here. Underneath 30.20, as I said, probably looking down sub sort of 30. So this kind of move finally sort of completing down into this area, which is, of course, that measured move that we put in a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago. This has come down very fast. It's just insane. But certainly it's just shoring up that this big line is the line to beat. It has moved away from the completion of it. So you want to see it sort of dribble up and move up here. Take out those wick highs from yesterday. So above 31.20, so 90 cents off, so it's a big move, but 90 cents off, you've got a couple of layers to get through, of course, but that's your level to sort of say that, okay, we might have a bit of a recovery moving on. Of course, gold gave up 2,600, so this is, quite shocking for it, because I was sort of saying that, look, this could be the third driver level. This is really starting to pick up some steam down here. Again, same sort of thing, moved up and then just got crushed, and now it's just really sort of melting down to the bottom over here. So, 25.60 to 25.50 is probably your next support areas to see if this can sort of get any sort of pushback up. But for the time being, it's very much a seller's game through here. If we can get back above, 2,600 would be something you'd want to see it push back above. For any kind of recovery here. If we drag this down, could be a little bit of this, but again, it's pulling away from the completion if this were to be, if this were to be a channel. This puts it in danger of basically just going and then really sort of picking up steam and just dumping out the bottom side here. So this is very much getting blasted down. It's about 1 second. Cool. All right, copper. Another one of the metals just absolutely slammed. So this was obviously that sort of Trumpy area or election area. Threw everybody about. I haven't sort of traded this. I had a little sort of go around this area here, but then I got stopped out, and it was just like, who's around here? I don't know, one of these supports. Anyway, I gave it a shot, got smacked, and I've stayed clear of it. As I said, these moves just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. As we're looking at sort of, as I said, 5%, 5%, and now this has been 8% move down one way. It really just can't get out of its own way. So we are back down into a previous area that we had marked out, that sort of 410 area. See if things can hold through here. Again, not a sort of high conviction rate that this is going to be doing anything anytime soon. We do have a little bit of this channel sort of forming up. It did look like it wanted to give it a go yesterday, but obviously, yeah, as you can see, like everything else, just got smacked down to the bottom side there. Flip it across. Okay, we got that, and there we go, China. So yeah, China, same sort of deal. Had the wedge, got the break on a lower time frame. I was actually watching this. It had a nice little sort of breakdown here, just a little intra-session measured move through this little pendant down here. Completed that, and then obviously bang, same sort of deal with the DXY. Had its little sell down, and then just blew back up to the top side. So back up again, testing these highs over here. Interesting to sort of see where this goes. Let's have a look. What did this? Obviously not too deep a sort of pullback, but if we have a look over here, back to the 38%, pretty much kissed it on the dot, and that's obviously these previous highs over here as well. So there's a couple of reasons why this, from a technical standpoint, would have got a little bounce from this area here. Question with all this stuff now is this a little last flare up to burn out the early positions and then we see a move down? Or is this just bear trap and on we go, we pick a new sort of channel, which would be something more, along these sort of lines like this. Oop. Doesn't fully line up, but I mean, effectively that's what it would be. If we do start to break up to the top side here, above, sort of this 725 area, we got some heavy sort of resistance areas up around in the sort of mid 720s, 728s, and all this kind of stuff. Your two sort of thoughts is it's either just burning the short positions and we now start to melt back down over here, or it's just a little shakeout. As I said, we build a new channel and we pick our next targets up over here, 728, which of course, this would go in line with Aussie sort of coming down into the 63s as well with a weaker one. It's been interesting because you just got to see if the PBOC reacts really, because remember there's all that talk of all the stimulus that got the market all excited, and then there was no follow through, which seems to be the story of life with China. So downside, look, I would say maybe if you get down underneath this previous sort of little range high through here, put a little sort of alert through here. You get down underneath this area here. We've got those fixing. I don't really work with the fixing too much, but I did notice yesterday fixing was up around here, 729. I do mark this out daily, and obviously zoom back up and clipped it. So it'd be interesting to see if we do get a touch up of the fixing for China here. So we'll sort of see how the day sort of pans out with that. But certainly, up above here, we do have some high time frame sort of resistance areas. But we'll see if this was more just a sort of shakeout or whether this is, if this is just a shakeout or if this is just really just it sort of, touching for a new channel to sort of come through. Put this through here. Yes, that would probably be more likely what you'd be looking at. Which could work out actually if you got a little bit of a wedge coming into a high resistance area over here. That may be a little bit more like it. But again, I think your big areas to beat are obviously yesterday's lows. So this kind of area here, When you get down underneath here, then you can call that, break of, if this is a wedge, it's a break. If it's a last minute ditch up here to burn the early short positions, then take them out and then sort of move back down there. So we'll see how things sort of open up. I think we've got DXY sort of coming online now. So I'll start to get a little bit of volume in. I've been noticing about sort of 12:15, 12:30, and we've been getting a bit of volume recently. So 12 o'clock doesn't really seem to spark up as much as it was a couple of weeks ago. Which is always kind of important to sort of know when that sort of volume is about to hit the market. All right, so I think that's about it. Flip through. Aussie data was the only real thing that was on the ticker for today. Some speakers tonight. We got unemployment claims for the US. This will be one to watch. 12:30 and PPI, so producer price index there. So again, look, if these numbers are up, expectations a slight bump up, move up month on month as well. If these numbers are up, this is going to strengthen US dollar. So I would be cautious to call it a top because, of course, many people have done that, and I sort of tried to get on the other side of it and got absolutely torn apart. So that's the name of the game. All right, that's it from me.